Welcome to this class presentation for Logistics and Supply Chain Management, the class of 2020. Our group, we're going to present financial analysis from PICO, that's Malawi Property Investments. Members of the team is myself, Chimuno Kamala, Kisa Makibinga, Thompson Stasha, Lumbani Hamisi. We're going to do introduction of the company and the financial performance analysis. We're also going to analyze the financial key ratios and the financial position of the company and conclusion, as well as what will come up as recommendations. Introduction. PICO Limited is a Malawi property holding company which was incorporated in 1972 and was listed on Malawi Stock Exchange in 2013. The core business of PICO is ownership, leasing, and management of commercial, residential, and industrial properties. They have properties in the 3 major cities in the country, that's Lilongwe, Blantyre, and Zuzu. And their fair value is 65.7 billion as of 2020, and they have 5 subsidiaries. PICO's major shareholder is Old Mutual Life Insurance, which holds about 43%, and the remaining being shared among other shareholders. We're going to analyze the financial performance, and we're going to do a comparison of line items in the financial statement for the 2 accounting period of 2019 and 2020. Just to also mention that PICO is in real estate industry, and this industry is a growing industry. As it stands, they have no competitors in the real estate industry who are also listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange. They are the only real estate company listed on the Malawi Exchange. We are going also to analyze the financial position, that's a balance sheet, statement of comprehensive income, and statement of cash flow. Can I have Kisa to continue the presentation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Chimwemwe, and good afternoon, audience. I'll take you through the statement of financial position, where we're saying that to evaluate its financial health and growth, investors, lenders, and creditors analyze the company's balance sheet. And on the current assets, we observed that there was an increment of 3.7%. That was recorded due to lower deferred tax. And also, there was a property at Kubula in Blantyre, and this also increased the current assets. And on the current assets, it considerably grew by 29.44%, owing to increase in interest receivables, that is interest on rentals. We also an increase in 6 million grant. This was given by the Lilongwe City Council for the construction of the sewer line at the Gateway Mall, and also PICO Limited obtained a bank overdraft from National Bank and FDH, which also led to the increase. So we are saying the PICO's liquidity has been strengthened because of these increases, and it is now able to meet its maturing commitments. On current liabilities, we have observed that there was an increase, and this increase is coming from the bank overdraft, and it has been calculated at 76.4%. On equity, there was an increment of 6.1%, and this it came from 59.5 billion to 63.5 billion, and it was due to a surge of anticipated reserves, as well as equity attributable to equity holders of the parent. So, in summary, we are saying that these increases, they reduce the risk of cash flow in payment of loans, since the capital is run by the shareholders. Thank you so much. Over to you, nyumbani.
Thank you very much, Kisa. We're going to look at the three financial statements. We're looking at the balance sheet, we're looking at the statement of comprehensive income as well as the cash flow statement. So I'll go straight to the statement of comprehensive income. As you are aware, the primary objective why organizations exist is to make profits, as well as to create wealth for the shareholders. So this statement of comprehensive income covers the revenue that organizations generate, as well as showing all the expenses that the organization incurs as it does its business. So, as well as showing the net profit as how much the organization has obtained at the end of the business that is done. So, when we looked at the statement of income, we observed that rental income reduced by 4.6% due to effects of COVID-19. So, because the business was slow, that's why that there was a reduction of tenancy renewals, as some people actually vacated the premises from people. So that actually impacted on the income, the rental income, which was realized at the end of the 2020 financial year. We also looked at the expenses. You can see that the expenses actually went down by 12% due to lower property and administration costs. So the good news is from the 12%, even the gross profit actually went up by 2% from 75% in 2019 to 77% in 2020. As you can see that the rental income reduced by 4.6%, but the gross profit went up to 77% despite the reduction in the rental income. The income generated decreased by 3.2% in 2020 due to poor performance because the rental income was reduced, so that impacted on the total income which was generated in the year 2020. The net profit decreased by 43.5% due to deferred tax of 3.5 billion, which was recorded in people's income statement. We're also going to look at another important statement, which is the cash flow statement. What cash flow does is actually it records the actual cash in hand. So this one is going to talk about the movement of cash outside the organization as well as inside the organization. So we're going to look at three areas. We're going to look at the operating, investing, as well as financing activities. So the net cash from operating activities increased from a negative 120 million to 500 million, contributing to an 82% improvement to the net cash used in operating activities. So we're also going to look at the investing activities. There was a 128% reduction on cash used in investing activities as there was no additions to plant and equipment. So people did not make any investment. That is why there was that reduction of in terms of investing activities. On financing activities, net cash used went up by 56% due to the increase in repayment of borrowings. And overall, the cash position of people was worsened by 64.16% because of those overdrafts. Because you're looking at the difference between what was invested in and what came out from the business. So we found that the people was in a negative cash flow situation. Thank you.
I will continue from where Lumani stopped it. I will cover key financial ratio analysis for Mpico. I will start by profitability ratio for Mpico. Profitability ratio measures how an organization is able to generate profits. For Mpico, we compared 2 years, that's for 2019 and 2020. As you can see in 2019, the profitability ratios that we covered in 2019 for return on capital employed. That's a money a business gets after investing some money in an entity. So they recorded a decrease of 1% from 12.9 to 11.9. Net profit margin That's profit expressed as net an organization gets. So in 2019, people had 56.6%, and in 2020, they recorded 33.6%, representing a 24% decrease in net profit margin as compared to the previous year. Expenses, operating expenses. In 2019, it was 24%, and in 2020, it was 22.9%. Again, they did at least a good job to decrease operating expenses, because at the end, that would improve their profit. Gross profit margin. In 2019, it was 75%, while in 2020, it was 77%. So there was an increase in the gross profit margin. Liquidity ratios. So in 2019, the current ratio for people was 5.8%, and in 2020 it went down to 4.07%, representing a 1% decrease again. Liquid or quick ratio. This ratio does not apply to Mpigo because it only applies to an organizations that keep stock. So for Mpigo, it is a real estate agent that does not have stock, so it doesn't apply. You skip it. We go to debt-equity ratio. How an organization is able to pay back the debts they have with financial companies and the like. So for Mpigo, the debt ratio in 2019 was 0.13 to 0.17. There was an increase in debts. As Lumbani said in the previous presentation, he said Mpigo had borrowed some money from other banks with 900 million. So, as you can see represented by the diagram there, it went up 0.26. That's an increase. Let's go to efficiency ratios. This ratio measures how an organization is efficient in terms of getting the money from the debtors. In this case, we are looking at the clients of Mpigo versus how able or quick are you to collect money from your clients. So it measures how efficient are you in that area. So as you can see in the case of Mpigo, receivable days are at 228 for 2019 to 327 in 2020. So this means that Mpigo is not able to get money quickly from their clients. It is taking them about 228 days in 2019 and 327 days in 2020. This is not a good situation. Payables, how quick are they to get money from their clients? In this area, they are doing very nice. That's now to the perspective of their clients. They are able to pay as quickly as 22 days. That was in 2019, and in 2020 they were taking 26 days to pay their clients. So we see that this is not a healthy situation. It is taking them more time for them to receive money, when for them to pay their clients, or maybe if they are banks or suppliers, they are taking only 26 days, which is good to the other companies. Now, asset turnover ratio. That ratio measures how an organization is able to generate revenue from the resources they have, from the assets they have. So it is 0.19 against 0.16 in 2020, representing 0.02. Earnings per share. These are the earnings or the money each shareholder is supposed to receive at the end after making an investment, because this is a public limited company, which means the money they use came from the shareholders. So as you can see, in 2019 it was 2.44. It went down to 1.84 in 2020. Our investigations have shown that the main reasons there was a difference in the performance in as far as finances are concerned is attributable to the COVID-19 pandemic. Then lastly, I'll finish with the summary of the financial ratios. As indicated on the slide, net profit margin reduced in 2020 by 24%. As already explained, the receivable days also increased. Also, payables went down in 2020, while earnings per share went down from 2.44 to 1.84 due to decrease in the profit that people has been making. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thompson. So now we're going to look at the conclusion and the recommendations that we've made. Having analyzed the financial statements and looking at the ratios, we conclude that PICO has done generally well. Comparing the two financial years, 2019 and 2020, because the difference is just minimal. So the performance is not that different. It's done well based on the current situation that we're going through. So we're looking at ways of how we can improve the situation, or how we can take the tables from the negative to the positives. We're looking at PICO has to enforce its debt collection, as well as they should impose penalties on defaulters. We're also looking at outsourcing staff loans. Staff loans appear in the cash flow statement as a contribution to the negative figures, as some of the monies were used to give out loans to their staff. So we're saying instead of people taking their money to give to staff, they should rather outsource that service that probably they can use banks, so staff can get loans from banks. We're also looking at consider reviewing of dividends. We saw that people was in the negative figures, despite generating 500 million in 2020, but the net income was in the negative because people gave out dividends to their shareholders. So they can review it so that probably they will give dividends to shareholders when the financial status is better. We're also looking at they should practice annual preventive maintenance for their properties and assets so that they can reduce the number of times they are buying new equipment. Because if they continue servicing the equipment, the service will be in use instead of buying the equipment now and again. So that marks the end of our presentation. I wonder if there are any questions.
My question is just to have an interest. Out of all the organizations or institutions, why did you choose MPICO?
Let me respond to that one. We understand that there are so many industries in the country, but for real estate, this is a growing industry, and we're so keen and interested to know more about MPICO and analyze their financial performance and to see what the real estate industry is, how they are performing in the country. And also we also consider the fact that we believe that investments is in buildings. So we wanted to understand more about that concept that we hear from different individuals. Thank you. I hope that answers the question.